Now, Eddie, there are a couple of things on this Friday and a sun-splash perfect Friday heading into a 3-day weekend. So there's a lot to be uplifted about, right? There's a lot to be excited about. Are you excited for the weekend, Eddie? Tell me the big weekend plans, the Valentine's Day Eve preparation, everything that goes into it for Eddie Garrison.
I'm not sure yet, Jake. I know we've got reservations to go to dinner tomorrow night, and that's about, I guess I shouldn't say tomorrow night, tomorrow evening, 5 o'clock tomorrow. So outside of that, not entirely sure. We both got some stuff we have to handle this weekend, Olivia and I. So we'll be.
So there are several things that are confusing me today, even though it's a perfectly clear day. The sky is clear. The sun is radiant, but my understanding on a few things not so clear. We'll get to that in just a second. I want to begin by saying I literally just came in the building on two wheels about, 4 minutes ago?
Probably, yeah.
I had a meeting earlier this morning and was thrilled to do so. It was very cool. Met with 3 lovely women in preparation for the Early Learning Indiana Auxiliary fundraiser taking place on April the 25th at Woodland Country Club. I'm a little uncomfortable with this. I love the fact that this is an organization that helps out with and facilitates for and discusses the importance of exactly that, early learning. And, basically preschool age. My mom was a preschool teacher, so the men and women that are predominantly women in this situation with this auxiliary doing what they can to help jumpstart the lives of young people is very important. I am very respectful and appreciative of their work, but they have an annual fundraiser, and they've asked me to speak at said fundraiser. And I always get uncomfortable with that, Eddie, for 2 reasons. Number one, public speaking, my number one fear. And number 2, I'm realistic enough of the thought process of how disappointing it must be for people to attend such a fine event and then they bring me out, right? Honestly, I get very uncomfortable. Also, I was uncomfortable. I didn't notice this as I was talking to these 3 lovely ladies, but you pointed out when I came in here. It appears as though I was scratched by a cat on my face. Is that right?
It looks like, yeah. It looks like it's like a cat scratch from Boo.
Where is this?
Like your eyebrow. Your left eyebrow?
Okay. Well,
it's either Boo or a dog, one of the two.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Must be probably one of the two. But nonetheless.
I know Shannon's dogs are very rambunctious.
They are. Charlie, the French bulldog, he does meth. We know that much.
Oh, I know.
There is a big storyline with the Pacers and something that confuses me. I also get a little bit confused as I turn on the Olympics. Someone enlighten me on this. The luge and the skeleton, which are breathtaking to watch and really pretty awesome. But which one is head first and which one's on your back? The skeleton's on your back, is that right?
Skeleton is head first. Luge is you're on your backside.
Wait, skeleton's head first?
Skeleton is head first, yes. The luge, your feet are first, and you're looking up at the sky.
How many, would you do this even once?
No.
It seems as though it could be when you watch either one of them, but certainly the luge, you said, is the one where you're head first, or the skeleton's head first?
Skeleton is head first.
I mean, I don't know. I guess the centrifugal force is such that as you go into the corners, you would not ever hit anything like, say, head on. But it is remarkable. They're doing over 70 miles an hour on ice, on that track. It is incredible. That might be the most, even if you're like the worst, if you show up and you're like, yeah, I'm the skeleton guy or gal from, Ghana. Okay. You're probably not as good as Finland. Where do people practice this? Like where are there big runs that one does this?
I don't know.
Is there a skeleton luge track somewhere in Indiana? Or do you have to go to like Park City, Utah, and they just have a facility? I'm confused by that. But nonetheless, Olympics underway, and it is cool stuff. But let's get to, speaking of Park City, Utah, and where there might be a luge skeleton track, let's get to this. The news last night from the association, and I'm sure all of you are aware of this now, but we have thoughts. The Pacers and the Jazz being fined for, and I'm just going to say for tanking. I know that they're going to come up with different terms for that, the NBA. But the NBA fined the Jazz $500,000 and the Pacers $100,000, saying both teams sat healthy players in recent games while noting that they are moves that compromise the integrity of the game, and that will not be tolerated. I'm going to read you from Adam Silver, quote, "Overt behavior like this that prioritizes draft position over winning undermines the foundation of NBA competition, and we will respond accordingly to any further actions that compromise the integrity of our games. Additionally, we are working with our competition committee and board of governors to implement further measures to root out this type of conduct," end quote. Now, this goes back to the Pacers game in terms of, and Utah is a whole different story, in terms of players that they rested in games. But for the Pacers, this goes back to their game, coincidentally enough, against Utah on February 3rd. A league investigation found that Pascal Siakam and two other Pacer starters sat out the game, quote, "They could have played under the medical standard in the policy, including by playing reduced minutes. Alternatively, the team could have held the players out of other games in a way that would have better promoted compliance with the policy," end quote. Now, what we know is this. What we know is that now in the NBA, if you would like a chance at the number one overall pick or to stay within the top 4 picks of the draft, you basically need to be one of the 6 suckiest teams in the league. You have to have one of the 6 worst records to give yourself the best chance there. And we also know, even though Caleb Wilson now of North Carolina has a fractured hand, does that mean that he returns for another year of college? That would seem unlikely. But we know that at the top of this year's draft, as we have talked about exhaustively, are a number of generational changing talents. Players that can change the trajectory of your franchise. And in the case of Indiana, it feels more like San Antonio. What I mean by that is when San Antonio had Tim Duncan, they got Tim Duncan because they had gone a year without David Robinson, who had been hurt, and they were not necessarily authentically one of the worst teams in the league. But they changed things that year, got into the draft lottery, and then Tim Duncan. The same can be said for when they landed the pick that resulted them in Victor Wembanyama. But let's get to the core of this discussion. Let's get to the reality here, okay? I'm not trying to be polarizing Pete. I'm not trying to be argumentative Alan, okay? I'm being realistic Rick. And I'm telling you the way this really is. I'm interpretive Ivan, okay? We can read that quote from the NBA regarding the Indiana Pacers. A lot of fancy words in there. A lot of really creative and, things like the word overt. Overt behavior like this that prioritizes draft position over winning undermines the foundation of NBA competition. Let me read for you what that really means. We should probably run this through the Elixir, Eddie.
Oh, did you renew the subscription?
You know what? I've got to look, actually, and see if I renewed the subscription to the Elixir, but I'm pretty sure that I did, okay? And for those that are unfamiliar, what we do with the Elixir is this is where we have a computer system that we purchased. And And by the way, it looks like, hang on, I'm not certain that I did pay. Oh,
Uh-oh.
yes. It looks like I do have it.
Okay. Okay.
The Elixir, the way we do this is we read a quote from a sports figure.
Yeah.
Then we run it through the Elixir.
Oh.
And the Elixir then has the ability to tell us what is really being said.
It's like a decoder.
QR. Speaking in code, right? Thank you for doing that. That's exactly correct.
No.
The QR, right?
Have you seen the speculation, Jake, on the on who's driving this? Complaining between the Pacers and the Utah Jazz tank-off here?
I could probably guess, but go ahead and enlighten me.
The Oklahoma City Thunder.
What would be the Thunder's beef in this?
Well, the Utah Jazz have to keep their pick within the top 8, I believe is what it is, to retain their pick. If it falls outside the top 8, that pick goes to Oklahoma City.
Say that again?
The Utah Jazz have a protection on their first-round pick for the 2026 NBA draft that if it falls within the first 8 picks, Utah will keep the 2026 pick. If it is picked 9 through 30, it will be sent to Oklahoma City. So there's speculation that Oklahoma City, a team, by the way, that was blatantly tanking for years.
Correct.
Is
and they had
complaining about somebody else tanking, doing the exact same thing they did.
Okay, now, do you believe that there is a team that blew a whistle here? Or do you believe that the league is having to just kind of make an appearance or a presentation, if you will, of what is, they want people. Do you think the league is doing this to honor and uphold the request of a franchise or to honor and uphold to use your term, code of what they want fans to think of the way that they do things? That's the – okay. I think I'm looking at the Elixir here, and there's a warranty issue.
Uh-oh.
But I think we may have this correct. I'm still checking here.
We do have some minor news, Jake. IndyCar, the final seat for the paddock this year is filled. Ramon Grosjean will be racing for Dale Coyne this year. And then in college basketball news, this is from Jeff Borzello of ESPN. Former Princeton star Caden Pierce, the 2023-2024 Ivy League Player of the Year, he is transferring to Purdue. Now, you may be asking, Eddie, why are you bringing up a guy from Princeton? Look at the last name. His last name is Pierce. That is Alec Pierce's brother. He is now going to be playing for the Purdue Boilermakers.
He had another brother that played where? Didn't Alec Pierce have another brother that played college basketball somewhere? Or maybe that's the one we're thinking of. But if he's transferring to Purdue, Eddie, do you happen to have the tinfoil hat theory music, please? As we enter into the free agency period of the National Football League, can we read into Alec Pierce's plans based on the fact that his brother is transferring to play college basketball closer to Indiana and in Indiana, closer to Indianapolis? Do we read into that? See, all kinds of things of uncertainty and cloudiness today. But let's get to the Pacer statement, okay? And run it through the Elixir. Now, I'm going to read to you, Eddie. Do we happen to have the Elixir ready? And this is dangerous here when I push the button over here that it's actually going to work if you have the ability to run my computer.
Yeah.
This is how the Elixir works. I read the quote, we run it through the Elixir, it then tells us when it has translated it into what the person is really trying to say, okay, according to the Elixir. Again, the quote from Adam Silver as to why the Indiana Pacers have been fined $100,000. Quote, overt behavior like this that prioritizes draft position over winning undermines the foundations of NBA competition. And we will respond accordingly to any further actions that compromise the integrity of our games. What does that really mean? The Elixir, please. Okay, so here we go. We'll see what it says.
Who are we kidding? Have you seen our sponsors? We all know what integrity we are upholding. More later on the DraftKings update on the FanDuel networks.
Oh, okay. Interesting. What do you think the elixir means by that?
I wish I knew.
What do you think the elixir means? Let's read the elixir. Let's make sure that we did this correctly, Eddie, if you please could. Go ahead, and when we're talking about overt things happening in the NBA and the upholding the integrity of the game, run that through the elixir on, again, what that means. Okay, we'll try this one more time.
Who are we kidding? Have you seen our sponsors?
Slow it down.
We all know what integrity we are upholding. More later on the DraftKings update on the FanDuel networks.
Seems as though the elixir got a little bit frustrated and wanted to make sure that we slowed things down to better understand.
I guess.
The NBA wants to make certain and make sure, as do all sports properties, and I understand it. I totally get this. But just come out and say what it is. This is not the NBA upholding the integrity of the game because they worry that ticket buyers are going to be upset because their favorite stars aren't playing. Load management and players resting and all that comes with that is a discussion that's been had since the beginning of time. For years. And yes, we can sit here and say, back in my day, I watched Bill Russell play. I understand it. And back then, those teams were flying commercial on Eastern Airlines, squeezed in. I get all of it. But you also did not have at that time, look at the Indiana Pacers right now. Do you think there's any coincidence? Are there some strange injuries, as we've talked about? Soft tissue injuries, sore hamstrings, an Achilles strain that are being suddenly mentioned that we'd never heard from before because Indiana is doing what they can to make sure that they are losing games to keep their hat in the ring for one of the top 4 picks? Yeah, probably. But guess what? They're also 500 in their last 18 games. If the Pacers are intentionally trying to throw games, they suck at it. They went and tried to throw 2 games in New York and won both of them. They can't even tank properly. That's how good they are, I guess. But are they overtly trying to be less competitive? Yeah, probably. And should that bother the NBA? I don't know. Did it bother the NBA when everyone under the sun knew that they overtly made sure that the college basketball player of the year, Patrick Ewing, went to New York and not Indianapolis? Did that bother anybody? Did it bother anybody when you very clearly, to your point, Eddie, in the past had Oklahoma City that had more first-round picks compiled and stockpiled in order to go out and get themselves great players and build a roster that now are the NBA champions? Did that bother anybody? Or was it seen as really smart and a great sacrifice on behalf of Oklahoma City? For years, players have now been load managing. And the reason why is simple. You look at the Pacers this year and the legitimate injuries they've had. Obi Toppin. Obviously, Halliburton happened going into the season. Some of the nagging injuries, TJ McConnell and some of the hamstring tightness. Is that embellished? Maybe, but that was early on. Aaron Nesmith and some of the nagging things that he had. How much of this, Johnny Furphy? Could it be that this is because of wear and tear? Because for the first time in their existence, at least since 2000, the Indiana Pacers were playing games well into and past June 1st. And there was basically no offseason. And say what you want, and I understand that it's disappointment city for the kids of Carmel Pups that all wear their finest Steph Curry jersey that they bought at the Dick's Sporting Goods of Westfield to go down and support their beloved Golden State Warriors. And then guess what? Gasp. Curry's not playing because it's a back-to-back, and they were in Chicago the night before, Milwaukee the night before, Cleveland the night before. And you say, I can't believe Steph Curry's not out there on the floor. I paid my hard-earned money for these tickets. Understood, but Golden State also was going through a period where, because they were winning titles and they were playing deep into January, and the number of games they were playing, and then you add into that the Olympics and other such things, and Steph Curry, like anybody else, it's like, you know what? We got to pick and choose where you can get a nap. Haven't you all looked at a weekend schedule and you're like, man, I had the most grueling week of work, but I cannot wait until Saturday because I got nowhere to be between 2 and 6, and I'm going to lay on the couch and veg. I'm not saying when you are an elite level athlete with chefs and top flight, airline, private charters, and the best hotels, I'm not saying that it doesn't get a little bit redundant when that happens, but I also understand that the physical demands of players today are different than what they were 20, 25 years ago. It just is. It's a different era than when Michael Jordan played. LeBron couldn't have played in Jordan's era because he didn't have to go down the middle and have Oakley and Mace trying to knock him on his keister. He's bigger than Oakley and Mace. It's a different era. It's a different athlete. But nonetheless, I'm not saying that to excuse resting players in any way. I'm saying it to explain it. The reality is this. The NBA, the NFL, almost every sport now, their number one priority deep down is to generate and continue invested fan interest. Why is fantasy football, why did it become such a coup for the NFL? Because, and what is the reason that people love fantasy football? Do you play fantasy football? I do play fantasy football. Why do you? I like fantasy football. Why do you like it? Well, the main reason is because on a Thursday night game between the Carolina Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals, that for the first 88% of my life I didn't care about, now I have a reason to watch. Why do you have a reason to watch? Because I have Bryce Young on my fantasy team. Okay. I have the tight end for Arizona on my fantasy team. Had to start him because I have Tyler Warren, but he's hurt this week or he's on bye. So I had to pick up the guy from Arizona. I want to see what he does. So I'm watching the game. What is the other thing that draws in fans and eyeballs about professional sports and college sports in 2026? Go to any sporting event. Go to any sports bar. Go to any fraternity party and watch people while games are going on. They are on their phone like they're playing Tetris and like they're trying to type out War and Peace in under 2 hours. And they're on it on the gambling apps. And they're taking parlays and they're taking over-unders and they're taking money lines. And that is the beauty in this country of a free enterprise society. Are there people that's bad news for because they have an addiction to it and it's dangerous? And yes, of course. And do we hope that those people are able to get that under control? Yes, of course. But you also can go to a game and buy beer, and they don't ban that because some people have difficulty with that. Those are things as an adult that you have the free will to monitor and police about yourself. So it's not my place anymore to sit here and tell people we should or shouldn't have this or that because it's a danger to people. People are aware of the danger. The reality is that gambling and gambling on sports, especially now that it is legalized and easily accessible, is a win for pro sports leagues because it creates an interest and an invested interest, both emotionally and financially, for people that would otherwise not have interest in the game. And Adam Silver and the National Basketball Association, with franchises like the Indiana Pacers, the Utah Jazz, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Sacramento Kings. The Pacers are an it franchise a little bit because Tyrese Halliburton is magnetic and he's transcendent and he's exciting. And the way that they won games and continue to win games in the postseason last year captivated people. I was in the Baseball Hall of Fame wearing an Indiana Pacer t-shirt 2 months after the finals in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. And probably 10 different people stopped me and they're like, yes, sir, it's Pacers, let's go. Oh, you're a Pacer fan? No, not at all. Where are you from? I'm from Kearney, Nebraska. Well, then why are you a Pacer fan? Man, how could you not fall in love with that team? They were fun to watch. So the Pacers did hit the map there, and they had people interested and engaged, but there's no Halliburton this year. And yet the NBA, it's in their best interest to make sure that people are watching and paying attention. And what is the vehicle? What is the gateway? What is the carrot on the stick that keeps people chasing and the NBA knows keeps them interested? It's making sure that when they are putting money on a money line, when they're putting something on an over-under, when they're taking a teaser, that they are doing it fair and square. And the NBA is wanting to make sure that its supporters, and by that I mean, to a great extent, those that are patronizing their chief sponsors, they want to make sure that people are continuing to do that so that they continue to watch and continue to buy in and pay attention. Because if you go back to the days where the only day or the only way to even know about gambling purposes is to buy some sort of a parlay card from your delivery guy that then goes takes them and turns them in through the back door at some bar somewhere, and look on the back page 9 of the Agate Bureau back when the sports pages were 9 pages long. If you want to go back to that way, that's fine. But you are in bed now, and you're entrenched now with basically saying, speaking of overt, the NBA now has overtly let you know that they want you to place wagers on their competition. And so, therefore, it's in their best interest to make sure that you know that every time you place a wager on said competition, it is overtly fair from the get-go. And that's why they have to put forth the perception and the image that they're policing this. Do they know that everybody's going 62 and a 55? Yes. But every once in a while, you got to pull over the two small 4-cylinder cars that are putting along doing 57 and a 55 to say, see, we're enforcing the speed limit in your neighborhood. It's all safe. Everybody go back to what you were doing and know that we got it all under control. And that's where we are. And that's where things fall. Eddie, we have a 3-day weekend. Do you have big plans?
No big plans. I'm trying to find this video. Jake, remember when you complimented me for the music I was playing one day? It was a recent show, and you got up and started dancing.
Oh, I'm a fabulous dancer.
I can't remember what day that was.
I'm a great dancer.
I'm trying to remember.
Honestly, like that was the one thing about me. I mean, I have a natural athleticism just about me in general. And, I've always said, like, when I played basketball back in the day, it was the one sport in which I just had a natural feel and skill set.
Yep.
That and then cutting a rug. I mean, listen, I was going into the Vogue and Broadway back when it was 80s Retro Rewind before Nelly was around.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, Nelly hadn't even hit the scene yet. Nobody even knew who he was. And yet when I was at the Vogue, people were saying, hot in here. That's what they were saying every time I went out. Honestly, you know what I mean? Fish in a barrel.
Kind of like your trainer, Bob. Is that his name?
That's correct, yeah. Stretches me. And he said he always compliments my hamstrings.
Yeah.
I mean, he said, he's like, it's an honor, honestly. Kind of like when George Costanza first did his hand modeling, and they're like, it's an honor to work with somebody with these hands. That's how people feel oftentimes about my glutes and my hamstrings.
Your glutes too, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying, for what it's worth.
Like trampolines, is that what you said?
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. Maybe that's where I got the scratch. Boo was bouncing on the hamstrings, lost control, and just was trying to grapple on, right? For any sort of firm recollection, and he accidentally scratched up here on the forehead. But plenty to talk about over the course of today, including this with the NBA and where the Pacers are and where things stand for those picks. And as we talked about, one of those that might now be somewhat in jeopardy. We will get to that over the course of today. College basketball to discuss as well. Lot to unpack on a Friday that feels like Selection Sunday because it's glorious and sunny outside. Could be a little warmer, sure, but we take what we can get. And we're overtly doing exactly that today. It's Query & Company here in The Fan. Hey there, Jake Query for Surfside. Look for the can with the sunset stripes. Iced tea and a splash of vodka, lemonade and a splash of vodka, and refreshment through and through, and no carbonation with Surfside. That means it is, and let me tell you, it is very smooth. So easy to sit and drink, whether you're tailgating, whether you're watching the Olympics, whatever it might be, no matter where you may be, Surfside is always the perfect way to complement that relaxation. Valentine's Day, why not cap it off with the nightcap? Enjoy a Surfside. And a number of different flavors coming out in 2026. I love, for example, the raspberry tea with that splash of vodka. 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, and no carbonation. Surfside, always the best. Look for it wherever you buy your favorite adult beverages. Please be 21, and please consume Surfside responsibly.
This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Are we playing mood music all day today, Eddie? Is that what we're doing?
I think so. I mean, we are audibly sexy, Jake.
We?
Yeah, we.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Listen, I got news for you. I wore a jacket today.
I know you got to take it off because you saw me.
Well, there's bad news for you, the fact that I wore a jacket, right? The bad news is it has no coattails. So sorry.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I don't know how you're getting home, right?
I know I'm getting
Listen,
home, Jake.
you said you have no plans for Valentine's Day. Is that right?
We've got dinner plans.
Oh, really?
Outside of that, I don't know.
Does the dinner do the dinner plans include reservations?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Just for two?
Yes.
Are there candles that will be lit?
I don't know, Jake.
How about a little vino, little wine at the end of your evening?
If I liked wine, I would say yes. And neither one of us like wine.
The fact you're speaking back to me in that voice, little uncomfortable. Not going to lie to you.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So you have, do you want to reveal the place in which you're having your dinner?
No.
By the way, I have an assignment for everybody right here.
She could be listening, so I don't want to.
Oh, so she's not aware of where the dinner is?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
And so how does that work?
Hey, be ready by 4:30. We got to leave to go to dinner. Okay.
And then, but when you're pulling into the parking lot, she's obviously well aware. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Okay. So you pull in, and
it's not like I'm going to blindfold her.
Well, I mean, you could. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I could, yeah.
Is this a place that you're picking because you believe it to be, incredibly romantic, or is it just a place that she likes, and so you're doing a solid here?
It could be a nice dinner for the both of us, Jake.
Okay, fair enough. Do you like the cheddar biscuits that come with it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Here is the assignment for everybody right now. I need you to grab your phone, please. Eddie, are you grabbing your phone? I need you to go to your app store, okay? Download the Java House app. Download the Java House app, and here's why I'm asking you to do this, okay? Because not only when you download the Java House app do you get to see all of the fabulous things available for Java House, in addition to that, you can see the locations for their fabulous coffee houses. I was at one this morning in Broad Ripple. They have one in Midtown Carmel. They have one in Clay Terrace. They have two downtown. They have three in the Lafayette area, and continuing to grow the Java House coffee brick and mortar locations. The one, for the example, in Clay Terrace, you can go in there. You can also go ahead and rent out an office space so you can sit and work on your laptop, have your coffee, have a meeting, whatever it might be. And then, of course, you can work on your laptop at any rate, anywhere in the store. But if you go there and you use the code JAKE25, that is JAKE 25, on the app and pre-order your beverage, you're going to get 25% off your drink orders at any Java House location. So if you could, please download the app for Java House. It would be greatly, greatly appreciated.
Now, what if I already have it downloaded, Jake?
You could still use JAKE25 when you buy your beverage ahead of time. Big one for Purdue this weekend, taking on Iowa in Iowa City. This is a game that when you are a team like Purdue and the expectation for Purdue going into the season, and I do believe, and maybe I'm overly bullish on Purdue, maybe I'm too kind to the Boilermakers. Maybe I should be more harsh and say, what in the world is going on? You've got a point guard that was the preseason National Player of the Year, that is an All-American, that is an all-time assist leader within his conference, that can hit big shots. You've got a three-point marksman in Fletcher Lawyer that has knocked down huge shots over the course of his career. You have Trey Kaufman-Renn that has been able to play various roles and is a veteran on the team. You add one of the best rebounders and probably the best big man through the transfer portal. You've got good play off the bench from two different players, including one coming in internationally that was very, very sought after from a number of programs. You put all that together, and you should not have more than 2 losses on the year, and then you go through a stretch where you're just not playing well, and you go and you beat Oregon at home and you kind of sleepwalk your way through it, and Oregon now is terrible, and how in the world can you be in this position where you are white-knuckling games like that in January and early February in Mackey Arena? And through all of that, you then go into Nebraska, and again, 2 sides to every story, 2 ways to look at everything. One of those being, you go into Nebraska, who is a top 10 team, again, a more experienced team, well-coached, hostile environment. I mean, they're throwing beer on the floor, crowds raucous. Those Husker fans, man, look out, right? Is that all corn mash moonshine they're drinking? Is that what they're doing?
What?
Up in Nebraska?
Probably.
Getting raucous. So,
or is that Field of Dreams stuff?
That's
from
possible
Drew
too
Storm?
from Drew Storm. But that's Iowa, though, right?
Yeah.
I think that's Iowa as opposed to Nebraska. So that's what's upcoming. But in that game, you get up, to a huge lead at the half. You're up, I think, 22, and then Nebraska comes roaring back. And so you can look at it and say, again, 2 sides to everything. You can look at it and say, how in the world do you relinquish that lead? Or you could say, they built that kind of a lead in that environment. That's impressive, and that's veteran steady play. Either way, the bottom line is they got a big-time win. They had to go into overtime to do it. Maybe they should not have allowed it to get to the point where it was as close as it was. But they did, and they answered, and they got a big-time win. But because I'm not pleased, because I want more, because I expect more, now what I'm curious to see is how they back that up against Iowa, a team that when Ben McCullum was hired, we assumed was going to be one that was going to try to slow things down a little bit. But Iowa has shown an ability to play in a variety of ways, and that is also not the easiest of environments. I don't think that it's as raucous as Nebraska, but there's just something about that trip to Carver Hawkeye that's always a tough one. And if Purdue is, in fact, the team that we have felt that they are, if Purdue is the program that they have been billed to be, if they are the level of national stage that we anticipated they would be welcoming to all year long, and a Final Four, more than just contender, a Final Four likely team, and a national contender, if those things are the case, then they're going to have to show that a win against Nebraska like that they did not, that complacency did not suddenly find itself as a shotgun rider. And they're going to have to put back-to-back, and I think it's going to be tough. I think Iowa's going to be tough. And I'm very curious to see not only how Purdue plays, but what style Iowa plays with it. And how early Purdue goes, for example, to try to get Fletcher Lawyer involved. Because what are they, 22-0 when he hits at least 4 threes? So I think there's a lot to watch for in that game to find out just exactly who the real Purdue is. Now, speaking of challenges, that's not the only big one on the docket. There's another to get to, and it does involve a team that I think is trending in the right direction at the time you want them to. We'll get into that next.
Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, Jake. Before we get into the other big game in college basketball this weekend, can we get a snow melt challenge update? No, this is unfair here. And then it says without QR. No, if you're listening to this show enough to know about the snow melt challenge, then you're aware of QR. And for those that are unaware, I don't know where you've been, but the kids are big on the 6-7 deal, right?
Still
and
are,
we've
yes.
started a new trend on this program where if you really want to drive the kids crazy, and at first it's going to drive them crazy, then you're going to tell them what you're doing, and they're going to be all in. And that is QR, which means you're speaking in code, QR code, right? So you say something, and your kids say, like, Dad, what are you talking about? You say, oh, don't worry. Your mother and I are just speaking in QR. QR. And then they figure out that means in code, and they will love it. And it's a good way to bond with the kids, too.
I think I may have a message from somebody that's it's the other way around where
RQ? No.
They are trying to make QR a thing, and their kids are very frustrated with said adult.
Well, that's also a win-win. I mean, if the kids are slow to adapt, kind of like the Elixir. If you haven't used it in a while and there's no communication for a while, it slows down. You saw it was a slower version of the Elixir.
I just think you're trying to make something stick that's never going to stick.
Oh.
You're trying to bank in on why not Indiana sticking. You're trying to get this whole QR thing to stick.
Why not Indiana is here.
Yeah, I know.
Just so you know.
Yeah, you're trying to make this whole QR. QR.
See, there you go.
Stick.
Now you don't want to admit it's fun. You don't want to admit it's fun. It's okay.
I think
it's okay.
Absolutely ridiculous.
No, but you just did it right there.
I just did it because you said if you do it,
naturally just rolls off the tongue.
See, like I learned from your training with Eddie Gill, you have to say it twice, and the second time you have to be more seductive.
Eddie Gill, when I saw him at the Pacer game, I'm walking, and all of a sudden I hear this QR, and I turn around, and there's Eddie Gill, the friendly face of Eddie Gill. Well, how you doing? So the snow challenge. Here's the deal. We're getting close. This is going to be very interesting. When we got the big Snowmageddon meteorological orgy of 2026, they cleared out the parking lot here. And when they do that, of course, that creates the Marion County Alps. And, you see this in parking lots all around the city, the big pile of snow. And so I asked the question to Eddie at that time, what will the date be when there is no remnant or reminder of the snow anywhere in the parking lot? Cannot be a single sliver, not a single patch, not a little thing of ice, nothing. I threw out the date of February 17th. Eddie took the under, meaning that it was his belief that before the 17th, so on the 17th, there will definitively be no reminder, no remnant, no visible evidence of any snow whatsoever. Now, today is the 13th, correct?
Yes, today's the 13th.
So the 17th would be our first day back. Is that right?
Yes.
Because we're off reminder for President's Day.
Correct.
Okay. Eddie, would you please look out and let me know how things are looking here in terms of the mountain range?
Yeah, hold on. Weather-wise, it's kind of nice. It's 46 now.
It's nice. And there's sun. Now, again, one of the things that I think Eddie underestimated is just because the sun is out doesn't mean that all snow banks are entirely drenched by the sun. They can have shadows that are blocking it and helping out. So where do things stand right now, Eddie, in terms of, you would say that the snow mountain is at what size of what it was at its peak?
Okay, so at its peak, I would say it was about to the mirrors on your cars, on your doors, if not a little higher. When did I text you the other day? Was that
I think that was like Tuesday or Wednesday.
It was Tuesday. I said I'm going to need a little help. It was about to where the logo on your car is on your hood.
Yep. Okay.
It was about there. Now we're just about below the wheel well, like the top of the wheel.
Okay. Now,
so I haven't checked the forecast for Sunday. Last I saw, there was going to be some rain, and hopefully we get some.
Rain is what you need.
Dilute it. But the corner that's nearest to me and the corner that's on Meridian and 10th Street right there, Jake, those are the two I'm worried about.
Rain is going to be your friend here, even though I don't like the rain. I think it's going to be close. But I'm glad, and I do think that we will. I don't think it's going to be the case before the 17th or before this ends, but I do think we have another snow in us. When is sectionals? Because it always happens during sectionals, boys sectionals.
I don't think we haven't even had the pairing show. I think the pairing show is next week.
Okay, well, during sectionals. So if it can last to that long, it's going to get some help. But I think the rain is going to be your friend here. But we shall see. Indiana in action coming up this weekend at Illinois. That game's Sunday. You can hear it on WIBC, our sister station, at 1 o'clock. Big one as well. And Illinois has something on it that is really – I'm not here to – it would be foolish of me to do a radio show in Indianapolis and do so spending the time to praise the opponent that Indiana or Purdue is getting ready to play. But I broke down a little bit for you about Iowa. There is something about Illinois that is a really good story, and I think most people are starting to become aware of it. But something that's going to be a big challenge for Indiana. And it's a new phenomenon. And they can call their friends at Purdue about it. We'll get into that and back into the Pacers lighter in the wallet. Both those things next.
Barry and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Now, what's the name of this song?
I'll Make Love to You by Boys to Men.
Oh, you know what this sounded like? I mean, obviously now I know that. There are certain songs that the jingle is like the same. I actually thought that was "So We've Come to the End of the Road." Isn't that also Boys to Men?
I don't know.
Because as I was listening to that, I'm thinking to myself, well, for Valentine's Day, you don't want to tell people you've come to the end of the road, right?
No. That is Boys to Men. End of the Road, yes.
Now, before we get into IU Illinois, and there are a number of things. This is just kind of one of those free-floating Fridays, right? That's what we do every once in a while. We're just a free-floating Friday. You know? Last week, I was wacky on the NyQuil. I was dancing. You sent the dancing video of me to Shannon, is that correct?
Yeah, I just sent it to her, and I said, Happy Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm. And does she know it's Valentine's Day? Did she respond?
Not yet.
Okay.
I wonder if there'll be a delayed response.
I'm just saying. So I was dancing in the studio last week, seductively, mind you, right? I'm a very good dancer. There's a lot of things about me that people, I think, when they meet me, they're surprised by. But if they listen on the radio, they probably can tell that there's enough, sultriness that the dancing part, I don't know that overly surprises people. But you know what is a surprise is what Illinois has done this year, not necessarily in the toughness they display. You know, I really like, and I've always liked, Brad Underwood because, and I'll give him a lot of credit here, and there's a real mystery about Illinois basketball. And I understand, why is this guy talking about Illinois basketball? We're in Indiana. I get it. Indiana taking on Illinois in Champaign at the other Assembly Hall coming up on Sunday. And if you talk to people from Chicago, Champaign, Illinois is Chicago's Evansville. Evansville's an Indiana town. It's in Indiana. But it's in the Big Toe. And when people talk about towns in Indiana, and you ask someone about cities in the state of Indiana, and you ask people from Indianapolis, they're like, oh, Indianapolis, South Bend, Bloomington, Terre Haute, Gary, the region. You get like 15 deep before people think of Evansville. And it's a decent-sized city. But it's basically Kentucky, right? But still, it just feels completely disconnected from the rest of the state. Part of that now has been taken care of because of the I-69 extension, which will eventually feature the Quarry Gas and Gulp. But nonetheless, Evansville, you forget about it a little bit, and it feels forever away. And that realistically is how Champaign feels to people in Chicago. Well, that's downstate. Yeah, it's like 2.5, 3 hours away. It's downstate. And for that reason, you would think that Illinois would be a juggernaut in basketball because of the talent that comes out of the city of Chicago. But there just isn't the automatic link in one's mind if you grow up in Chicago and you're playing for King High School or Simeon High School or Westinghouse or St. Joe's or any of the great basketball powers, and you come out and you are Mark Aguirre or Isaiah Thomas or Daryl Thomas or Benji Wilson or Jawan Howard or Donnie Boyce. I think Donnie Boyce was Chicago also. Any of the great players that have come out of Chicago, though, it used to be Ray Meyer and DePaul, or then the other teams like in Indiana that could come in and get players out of there, Purdue for that matter as well. And Illinois, with the exception of the Flying Illini teams, didn't get a lot of Chicago players. And Brad Underwood, I think when he got the job at Illinois, one thing that he brought with him was just kind of a tenacity and a defensive mind. And so you knew Illinois was going to be a tough team. But they weren't able to get that kind of, on the regular, recruiting base. And so what does he do? He goes out and he gets international players that are very good shooters that can space the floor and also defend at a high level, but more so the precise shooting for Illinois. And sometimes in life, it's just about being lucky. And Keaton Wagler is an amazing story for Illinois. Here is a guy from suburban Kansas City that is 6'6", has size, has basically, think about that, Kansas City. Good players come out of Kansas City. The Rush brothers, prime examples. Okay? I think Rockhurst, they were Rockhurst or Pembroke in Kansas City. But
Rockhurst.
It is Rockhurst?
Yes. Been there.
Have you really?
Yeah. They're in UND's conference.
Okay.
The Great Lakes Valley Conference.
Is there a Rockhurst University?
Rockhurst University, yeah.
Well, I'm talking about their high school.
Oh.
But I think they went
Apologies.
to Rockhurst High School. It's kind of like Fordham. It's got a high school and a college name for it. But either way, here's a kid that grows up in suburban Kansas City, has basically one offer from Minnesota. And then at the 11th hour, Illinois comes in and says, you know what, 6'6" kid, nice touch, we'll give him an opportunity. And not unlike A.J. Guyton, Peoria, not Chicago, but another Illinois kid that came to Indiana, one of these players that right away you go, holy cow, how did everyone else sleep on this? And you saw what he did at Purdue and the performance that he put on. He is a lightning and a bottle shooter. He is a rhythm shooter. And for Indiana, for Brad Underwood's teams that have a defensive tenacity about them, Indiana's going to have that with Wagler right out of the box in that game because you cannot let him get looks. He is a shooter that you can't let him get shots because what do shooters do? Shooters, if they shoot, and if they're not hitting,
they still shoot?
Correct. And then as soon as one goes down, then all of a sudden,
open the floodgates.
And that's what you don't want. And he has that ability. He undoubtedly has the ability to do exactly that. And that's what Indiana's primary responsibility is going to be. And then in Indiana's case, they themselves have to make sure that they are getting one or two of their shooters open and getting them looks. Tucker DeVries or Wilkerson, or for that matter, Nick Dorn. They've got to get – Wilkerson, you know, is going to get his shots.
Yeah.
But you got to get the complementary pieces to knock down a couple threes and just kind of space things out.
They need to run something early for Nick Dorn so he can see the ball go through the hoop. Like he's been struggling the last two games. They're going to need a third scorer to beat somebody like Illinois.
To be honest with you,
especially on the road.
It's part of how or why it's important if you have shooters that are struggling to get them to the free throw line. Because I always say it's like when you played horse. When you played horse or 21 or whatever it might be in the driveway and your shot's just not dropping, you go back to the basics. Get to the free throw line, knock a couple free throws down. Now you get the feel, and things start happening for you.
He is 4 for his last 22.
You're talking about Dorn?
Yes, on three-pointers, yeah.
And that was after two breakout games, right?
Yeah, that was after the 6 for 15 game against UCLA, which followed up a 4 for 9 against Purdue and a 6 of 10 against Rutgers and 4 of 9 against Michigan. So, like, he had a stretch there of 4 games where it was like, ooh, nice. Now it's back to, ooh, yikes.
I think Valentine's Day is overrated. That's a pretty popular narrative, isn't it? Isn't that like almost the unoriginal statement to make? That Valentine's Day is overrated? I always thought this. Here's a tip. You know, we should do on this program, Eddie, we should have some sort of a jingle or a sounder for Jake's life tips, right? Because
what are you people on dope?
that would be I don't want to condescendingly tell people that I'm giving them a life tip, but here's a good one. You ready? This is the biggest. We're going back to my younger years, but I'm telling you right now, Eddie, your friend Alec, your only friend?
Shannon has replied.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This, for those that don't know, Last week on the program, Eddie was playing one of my favorite tunes, and I started dancing. And I was showing my dance moves.
If you go to my Twitter at Eddie Garrison _, you can see just 19 seconds of it. There's like a whole minute of it.
And so Eddie posted the video and has sent it to Shannon here on Valentine's Eve. And I would like to know Shannon's response to this level. She's familiar with the moves.
Is she?
Oh, yeah. She knows the moves.
She said, "Oh, no," with like 12 O's.
Excuse me?
She said, "Oh, no," with 12 O's.
12 O's?
Yes.
Like I said, she knows the moves. For what it's worth, right?
Now, how does my only friend Alec factor into this equation?
Okay. Does Alec have a significant other?
He does not.
Alec, pay attention. This public service announcement brought to you by Jake Query of his early to mid-20s. There is no better day for you, Alec, or others that are single than tomorrow night. There is no better bar/club/whatever, tender, whatever it might be. There is no better night for you to meet folks than tomorrow night. None. Fish in proverbial barrel tomorrow night if you go out to a bar, club, your favorite place, whatever it might be, to meet folks. Period.
Are you speaking in the QR?
No. See, you don't want to admit the code is catchy,
No.
Eddie. The Indiana Pacers have been fined $100,000 by the NBA. This from the decision and the mandate and the governance, if you will, from Adam Silver and the NBA. And this all goes back to whether or not, and the question has been asked by all of us, are the Pacers tanking? Are the Pacers tanking? Well, it depends on what you mean by that. Depends on what you mean by are they tanking. Okay? Are they tanking in the form of we are going out and throwing games? Of course not. Of course not. But when they made the move to acquire Zubats, and when they sent Benedict Mathurin and Isaiah Jackson, they had a void. Their void on the roster was they did not have a big man. That void was created, of course, through the departure of Miles Turner. And they knew that they needed to fill that void, and that in order to get a great player, oftentimes you would have to part with a great player. And the player that they had, is he a great player? I don't know, but he's certainly a very good player who could be a great player in time. The piece that they had that was of value to them to part with, to make it possible for them to get this final piece, is Benedict Mathurin. They knew when they looked at their roster, okay, who do we have that other teams may be interested in? Tyrese Halliburton, can't get rid of him. Obi Toppin, like him a lot, can play different positions, very valuable to what we do. Jarris Walker, starting to show some things. Can shoot the three, can guard, and this is more important, can guard in multiple positions. Ben Shepherd, nice player, probably expendable, but not going to bring back a whole lot. You're not going to get the return on investment that's necessary. Ben Mathurin, okay, now we're talking. Guy that is a high-volume scorer, guy that can play isolation, guy that plays a little bit different than what it is that we need. And if we were to remove one brick from the Jenga, the one that is least likely to cause anything to collapse would be the piece of Benedict Mathurin. So they knew if we are going to get the center that we need, we have to part with a piece. And what piece can we part with that then would be not only the least expendable based on who we are, but also the easiest to replicate? And that's not meant as a knock to Benedict Mathurin to say that he is easily replaceable or can be easily replicated. But if you look at the top of this year's NBA draft, They're not one, not two, not three, but 4 players, all that appear to be, in most years, a presumptive number 1 overall pick, all that appear to be players that can immediately be a big part of turning around the change for you, or facilitating a change for you. And the Pacers aren't in need of big change. So they're like, hey, if Benedict Mathurin is a bench piece for us, we can replicate that number of minutes, those number of minutes and that role with one of these in the draft. But we need one of those top 4 picks. So they've already made contact with the ball with the trade of getting Zubats. That's the win. The icing on the cake and the grand slam of the home run would be if they then can look at it after the fact and say, we got ourselves our center and we did not have to change our lineup as a result because we still have a wing defensive scoring player off our bench, and he's coming on a contract that has multiple years at minimum as opposed to the one that we were getting ready to have to pay in Benedict Mathurin. Huge win. But they have to, of course, stay within those first 4 picks. So do they have motivation to tank? Well, no, because I think they have some scruples about them. But do they have also reason to not be totally dismayed if they were to lose? Yes. And the NBA can do its best act, its best Eddie Haskell, of trying to tell us and convince us that, in fact, this is all about the overt integrity of the game. And that's exactly what Adam Silver said. Quote, after Indiana's game on February 3rd against the Utah Jazz, where Pascal Siakam, for example, was rested, the Pacers were fined $100,000 with the following explanation from Adam Silver. Quote, overt behavior like this that prioritizes draft position over winning undermines the foundation of NBA competition, and we will respond accordingly to any further actions that compromise the integrity of our games. Additionally, we are working with our competition committee and board of governors to implement further measures to root out this type of conduct, end quote. What did Jerry Tarkanian allegedly say about Austin Peay? Every time Kentucky violates a rule, Austin Peay gets punished harder. There are no more famous incidents in basketball of a shady nature of the NBA draft lottery than the Patrick Ewing frozen envelope and bent corner that just so happened to land Patrick Ewing, the most coveted college basketball player in a decade, to the number 1 media market in the NBA and the New York Knicks. And I can tell you without question and hesitation, as sure as the fact that my name is Jake Query, that the NBA league offices are very keenly aware of when the New York Knicks are not competitive. And they intervene to say, what do we need to do to make them competitive? I don't mean in throwing games towards them or things like that. But I know for a fact there have been times from an executive standpoint where if the franchise of the New York Knicks was not running well, where at the time David Stern then sent out feelers to people saying, what can be done for the better operations of the New York Knicks? And I believe that that probably was the case in 1985 when they believed that they had a pillar player that could bring eyeballs and excitement back to Madison Square Garden. I raise this point only to say that it is definitely within the possibility that there is precedent that things, in fact, were leaned towards a big market in New York. And I am not big market bias conspiracy theory guy. Because if that were the case, you would not have one of the most successful franchises of the last quarter century be the San Antonio Spurs. You would not have Oklahoma City as the franchise that was allowed to just stockpile pick after pick after pick. And for that matter, you would not have blocked a trade that led Chris Paul going towards a big franchise. Chris Paul, who earlier today announced his retirement from the NBA just within the last hour. But I do think that there are times where the NBA has to present itself like it's an enforcer, present itself like it is laying down the law when people have concern. And so they picked Indiana and Utah as the two franchises to be their Austin Peay, to make an example. Here are two franchises. The Utah Jazz were going to fine $500,000. The Indiana Pacers were fining $100,000. And the reason why is because we want you to know that we have integrity within our game. They had to send that message, whether or not they ever follow up again on it. They had to send that message for the following reason. Because it was very important to the NBA that you, John Q. Public, know this. What network do you watch Pacer games on?
The FanDuel Sports Network.
The FanDuel Sports Network.
Yep.
And I've got nothing wrong with FanDuel or DraftKings or BetRivers or any of them. They have been very positive in terms of the viability of sports talk radio. And I certainly understand and respect and empathize with the fact that there are some people that those apps create a danger for them because they have had difficulty in corralling their own impulsive nature when it comes to gambling, which is highly addictive.
Yeah.
And it has ruined a lot of people. But we live in a world and in a country where personal responsibility, and that is not to condemn those people that are born with that, and I do believe that, born with that gene, that impulsive nature of addiction. I in no way, shape, or form do I think that makes any of those people lesser people, weaker people, any of that. But at the same time, it is something that is enjoyed by a large percentage of people. And like I said, I sit at Pacer games and I look in front of me and I look around me, and the number of people sitting next to me. I just need Siakam to get 3 more rebounds. I'm sitting there when players are checking in and I'm hearing people yell to them. I just need 2 more rebounds for my parlay. Oh, no, I need him to – I've got down that he's going to hit 2 more threes. Rick, put him back in. I just need 2 more threes, and I get $200. On and on and on and on and on and on and on. And I'm watching people, and they're sitting there on their apps, and they are hitting it like they're literally playing Tetris and constantly making in-game bets and money line bets and over-under bets and all of it. And all of those companies that facilitate that are major partners and sponsors of the National Basketball Association or the NFL or the NCAA. And so, therefore, Adam Silver is a lot less worried. I shouldn't say that. I don't mean that to pick him personally. The sentiment of the league in general, it is my opinion, is a lot less worried about making sure that you, the ticket-buying audience, are going to see Pascal Siakam on the night when you expect to see him. They're less worried about that and more worried about the fact of making sure that you continue to go to their sponsor or broadcast partner companies to make your wagers, and that you know the wagers you're making are, in fact, set in stone as being totally fair in the way in which you place your money. That's the integrity. The integrity of the NBA, of the NFL, of sports in general is upheld and promoted and promised to you, the consumer, because of the gambling aspect of it. Period. Yes, of course, they want you to know that when you go to a game and you buy the tickets 3 months out, that every effort is going to be made that your kids get to see Zion Williamson or Steph Curry or LeBron. I get that. But it also seems very odd to me that the league would tell Rick Carlisle or Kevin Pritchard or Chad Buchanan that they know better than the roster does, or the management does about what players can best give them a chance to win? What does it say when you're like, look, you had Pascal Siakam sitting out and you played Jarris Walker 29 minutes, and we're going to fine you because clearly you're tanking? Because what you're saying in that situation is Pascal Siakam's great and Jarris Walker isn't very good. But you want people to know that your league is the league that has the best players in the world. If it has the best players in the world, you should be confident and you should be content with promoting the fact that 1 through 12, you are getting the best players in the world, regardless of whether it's player 12 or player 1. It all comes down to the fact that they want to make sure that when you are investing your emotion and, more importantly, your wager on their product, that you can feel comfortable and confident in the way that you're doing it so that you continue to patronize those companies that give a lot of money for the signage and the partnership within the NBA. And that's what that is. That's exactly what that is. Eddie, was that all you got about the dancing? That's it? Just the one thing?
Yeah.
Hey, Jake, this from your friend Alec. I appreciate the advice for tomorrow. Where would you rank a place like Chili's to go meet women? Because I'm going to be hungry after working basketball games tomorrow afternoon and wanted to treat myself somewhere nice. I love Chili's. I love Chili's. Chili's is great.
And someone on the text line, by the way, 317-239-1070. Thanks for the motivation, Jake. I'm single, so I'll definitely go out tomorrow.
Let's go. I'm telling you. Fish in a barrel. Fish in a barrel. Right? Chili's as good as any of them. I love Chili's. Give me some baby back, baby back, baby back. Isn't that Chili's or is that Apple's?
Yes. Yeah.
You know who's a fan of Chili's?
Shannon Walsh?
SPW. Yes. She loves Chili's. The Chili's in Clearwater, we were legitimately bummed when they closed it. But now there's one in Noblesville we patronize. I love Chili's. It's a good place. It's a very good place. Kevin Bowen coming up 30 minutes from now. Is that right?
Yep. Top of the hour.
Kevin Bowen coming up 30 minutes from now. Also, a Franciscan Health Feel Good, Good for the Heart Friday. That coming up in the 2:30 segment. Your chance to not only get up to speed, if you will, on cardiovascular health, but feel good story of the day. That's coming up just about an hour from now.
You're listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Okay. By the way, I'm going to make a very unpopular proclamation. And I think I'm going to make two of them, and I think one of the two is going to be harder to defend than the other. Although I am certain that I'm correct on both statements, okay? The first statement, it is my opinion, not only that what I'm going to say is true, but it is my opinion that more people than not would agree with what I'm about to say. Valentine's Day is the most overrated holiday. Now, I think most people would agree to that. And maybe it's possible that women just say that based on peer pressure or partner pressure. But I think most people, I'm not saying that I dislike Valentine's Day, but I think most people would agree that there, especially in your younger years, like there's so much build up to it that more often than not, it just almost felt like some sort of an obligation that people didn't want to have to be reminded of when you got other stuff going on. And it's like, oh yeah, okay. And then of course, then you get that sweetest day, which is, I don't know the difference between that and Valentine's Day. Eddie, when you were a kid, and maybe they don't even do this anymore. Maybe this is like just a thing of the 70s and 80s. But when you were a kid, did you guys do the elementary school classroom Valentine's Day party where you had to give a Valentine to everybody?
Yeah, like a little card with like a piece of candy or something?
Correct.
Yeah.
Usually it was Ziggy or the Smurfs or, I don't know what it would be today for kids, like the little Valentine.
Fun Dip or...
Well,
the
can, yeah. I mean, the carrot, like the Valentines you handed out
the little
typically.
hearts.
Well, I'm saying the card itself was usually, themed with a popular cartoon character of the era. So I don't know what that would be today. And then you got the little hearts, the little chalk hearts that, be mine or whatever, and you pass those out.
If I was the Pacers, you know how they send out those, like the digital ones that you can send to people over like text now?
Right.
You make me huff and puff because you're so breathtaking. Picture of J Huff.
Okay. So wait a minute. So are we going to do? They could come up with one for every team, right?
They do one for every player. I'm sure.
I'll love you till the time I have to use my walker. Is that what we're going with here?
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our love is the binds that tie. Right?
I wear 0 because nobody's better than you.
Okay. Not bad. So what would you do for the newest member of the Pacers?
That's a great question. I'm not sure.
Your love makes me so wild I should be at the zoo. Is that it?
There's got to be something about loving like animals, Jake.
Okay. What would it be for Obi Toppin? No one's topping our love.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here are my two proclamations. Number one, and I would like for people to send me a text. You can do it at the station text line at 239-1070. I admittedly neglect sometimes to look at that when we're on the air because it's like 9 layers deep in the computer here. And then, of course, also to 317-523-9288. I continue to shepherd the love between us. How's that one, Eddie? Not bad?
Not bad.
What was yours? I huff and puff? Was that what it was?
You make me huff and puff because you're so breathtaking.
Okay. For Shepherd also, if you wanted to, you could just say, it makes me so happy to recall the places we've been. Right?
What about been there, tap that?
Okay. I don't know what's going on here.
Somebody's asking about Johnny Furphy on the text line, though, Jake. I don't know who this is from, but the question is, my 66-year-old cousin says he should be playing at the Jordan YMCA and not on the NBA team. What are your thoughts?
I disagree. I think that Furphy, and obviously now, of course, the knee injury, but I think he was starting to show why the Pacers believe in him. Number one, he's very young. And number two, there are three things he does that are unique. He does have a little bit more athleticism than you would guess, but he is a very good on-ball defender for a wing. And he has, in addition to that, and I hate to use some sort of draft night buzzword, but he does have some length. But I think his ability to guard on the wing, and then in addition to that, he is able to get his shot off. Now, that's not to say that he had developed into being the most consistent of shooters, but he can get a shot off without a lot of time being, necessary to set him up. Hold on. I got an Obi Toppin suggestion from my buddy Darren, but I don't think I can say it on the air. So, same with J&V. Now I'm getting all these recommendations and suggestions on Pacer Valentines that we can't necessarily even say on the air, right?
You're welcome.
It's not a bad thing. No, I think Furphy was starting to show why they like him, and that is that his ability to defend and the quick release of his shot. I think Valentine's Day, most people would say, is the holiday. It doesn't mean they dislike it, but they consider the most overrated. And then I also think Chris Paul, who retired earlier today, announced his retirement. And I know that this is going to be an unpopular opinion, and Eddie in particular is probably going to throw his computer through the window when I say it. I think Chris Paul is the most overrated player in the NBA of the last 20 years.
You're not wrong.
He was going to be the final piece for 15 different championship teams, none of which ever got past the conference finals.
Yep.
You were laughing. Was there another one that you thought of?
You can huff and puff, but our love is made of bricks.
That's not bad unless it's the first three shots he takes per game.
I know, right?
In which he's basically automatic, right? Now, what would you do for Andrew Nembhard?
There's got to be something with the play on to the last name, right?
I mean, something along the lines of I get a nimble heart. But, again, that's not Nembhard, though, although you could certainly make your own joke with the last syllable there.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Family program, right?
Well, I went a little too far there earlier, so I don't know if we're family anymore, Jake.
Hey, Jake, what about for Zubats? Simply, I'm glad to have once again found the center of my world.
There you go. Yeah.
That's good. Pat Dyer, that's good.
Nice job, Pat.
That is solid, right? That is not bad at all. What's Neesmith?
You go with something around double A, is what they call him.
That's his nickname, right?
Yep.
What about the fact, how about this? On a side note, how sexy would I look? Which is, I mean, kind of goes without saying, but if I wear my Aaron Neesmith New Balance tomorrow night for Valentine's Day, my highlighter fluorescent, he said they pop. He's like, they pop. I wore him to a game.
Aaron Neesmith said that?
Yes. Remember we had him on, and I said, I love the shoes you wear. And he said, yeah, they pop, don't they? So I bought a pair of them, and I wore them to a game, and I think that's probably the one place I could get away with wearing them, other than if I'm out playing basketball.
Yeah, I would agree.
They are super comfortable. They have great grip. No, I retired at the age of 45. Went up for a rebound that I put back 100 times in my career. A guy went well over me, put it back in, and I was like, what am I doing? And I played a ton of basketball growing up. And when I say a ton, I mean a metric ton of basketball growing up. But you agree with me on the Chris Paul take. Is that right, Eddie?
I do. I mean, if you look at it, especially in the last, 10 years, I would say it's become even more evident how much of a cancer he's been inside of locker rooms instead of, helping guys. He's been more of the problem, it feels like, especially when you go back to those days in Phoenix with him, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, DeAndre Ayton. They had it going. I can't remember. Did they make it to the finals or were they on the precipice of making it to the finals?
Was he on the Phoenix team that was in the finals?
Yeah.
He was on that team.
I don't know if they.
I
no,
thought
not
he
the
never.
NBA
I
finals.
thought he never went to the conference. I thought he never got past the conference finals.
That's right. Yeah, they lost to Dallas in the conference finals, and then Dallas got beat. Was that by Boston?
So who was Phoenix's point guard the year that they went to the finals?
The NBA finals? I don't know.
I mean, that team had some. It was kind of like last year's Pacers team. They won some games in unbelievable fashion, and that, of course, was the game when they were playing Denver, and the guy got in a fight in the crowd. The Suns in 4.
2021. Yeah, that was Chris Paul.
So he was on that team that went to the NBA Finals?
Yes.
Okay. I thought for some reason I was thinking that he had never been past the conference finals.
He has never won an NBA Finals. I know that. That might have been the first time he had been in the finals.
The Aaron Neesmith Valentine. You're the double A in my Energizer Bunny. Not bad. Hey, Jake, I keep erasing your number to text. That from Tina. 523-9288. 317-523-9288. We'll come back. Kevin Bowen coming up.
Thanks, Nick. It was the Bucks that they lost to. That's right.
Who'd you say?
I thought it was Boston, but it was the Bucks. It was
That was the Giannis 50 game, right?
Yeah, probably.
And then he went to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Kevin Bowen joining us, by the way, 18 minutes.
Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Here's a little fun fact for you. Lionel Richie was not only the first concert I ever attended, I also was a member of the Lionel Richie fan club when I was like in 5th grade. Everybody else loved Michael Jackson.
Were you the founder and the president and the CEO?
No. I don't know that I even knew that he had been with the Commodores at that point. But I saw Lionel Richie at Market Square Arena. The opener was Tina Turner. I did not know that Tina Turner was like, launching not even a solo career. I mean, obviously she'd been with Ike Turner and was a huge star by then, but she was getting ready to release the Private Dancer album, and she was the opener for Lionel Richie. And, I'm the youngest of 3. My 2 older sisters liked Lionel Richie when, Truly was out, and I just thought he was a cool looking dude, and I liked him. And so we went to the concert, and I loved it. And so I think I paid $1.50 and joined the Lionel Richie fan club, which got me a postcard. By the way, happy birthday to Crispy Chicken, Chris Phillips, who's a good dude despite the fact that he's a relentless and overbearing Ohio State fan. Although that's kind of redundant, isn't it, to say that?
Aren't most and all Ohio State fans in that category?
That's what I mean. It's a little bit redundant. 37 years old today. So happy birthday to Crispy. Also, someone else says that and I strongly disagree with this take. What would you say, Eddie, if we were to list right now the holidays and I don't mean like nothing against like Flag Day or President's Day, but the event holidays. You got obviously New Year's Day, right?
Yep.
We're going to go in order here. Then you've got Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Okay. St. Patrick's Day. And again, I'm not counting like Memorial Day and Veterans Day. I mean, we understand what those are. Okay, I'll throw in Cinco de Mayo. Even though I don't believe that's a federally observed holiday, but neither is Valentine's Day for that matter. So I'll throw in Cinco de Mayo. I'm leaving out Flag Day. Then you've got an Arbor Day. We're not counting that. Independence Day goes without saying.
Juneteenth.
Right? Juneteenth. Okay. Okay, Independence Day, and then
is Easter on there? Did you put Easter?
Yeah, Easter's a good one. Okay, sorry, left out Easter. I mean, only the most theological of all of them, so the holiest. Okay, Independence Day, and then, Halloween, obviously, okay. And then Thanksgiving and Christmas, right?
Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
Okay, of those, I'll Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, that's fine. Of those, what do you think the highest percentage of people, if this was Family Feud, we asked 100 people, name the most overrated holiday. Okay? What do you think would be the top 3 answers on the board?
Halloween, Valentine's Day.
Okay.
And St. Patrick's Day.
I think people would say Halloween, in no particular order. Halloween, Valentine's Day, and New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Now, somebody said to me St. Patrick's Day, strongly disagree. Strongly disagree.
I just said that.
I know, but somebody else sent it to me as well that said that they believe St. Patrick's Day is the most overrated. I don't disagree that it becomes a little much. The people that are like, they just think it's this, that they start at 7 a.m. and they go all out until like 6 p.m. and they think it's like this excuse to just be totally out of control. That gets a little old. But the idea of it and going out and having and it is fun to go to a pub to get a green beer or a Guinness and just to see, because every pub has it, just to see the one little guy dressed up as a leprechaun that passed out like 7 hours ago.
And then you go, ha-ta-ta-ta.
and I get to do see, Eddie, again, the things that you're picking up on that you realize now are radio gold, like my leprechaun. You know, if the leprechaun did the QR, can you imagine then? That's correct, yes. That's correct, matey. If you want to speak in code, you tell your friends QR. QR. It's fabulous. Kids love it. They just love it.
Imagine your old British guy trying to do that.
That's correct. The QR says speaking code.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you. You don't want to admit it. You don't want to admit it, but you're looking at the floor while smiling. Kevin Bowen next. Hey there, Jake Corey for Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com is the website. 317-353-2141 is the telephone number for Love Heating and Air, an official Heil Heating and Cooling dealer. Been around for over 100 years in central Indiana. Have Love Heating and Air, and that is 4 generations deep of a family-owned business. And you get to that point through the things that I always talk about, the pillars of it all. Great customer service, great knowledge of product, and, of course, an integrity with that product. Just had somebody the other day tell me they brought out a tech from Love Heating and Air that looked over everything and said, yeah, you know what? This is not a job that necessarily needs for an altogether new furnace. You can probably buy yourself more time by making these simple repairs choices yours. It's that sort of flexibility, that understanding, and that integrity that allows for a business to be around that long. And, of course, the very best of product and the best pricing as well, and 24-hour on-call maintenance. Love-HVAC.com is the website, 317-353-2141. I've been feeling fine. You just played it. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. Yeah. I think it's Marvin Gaye. Let's get it on.
You're listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Now, how about this for a Valentine using Pacer names of the last years? You ready, Eddie? A wise man once said, I would walk her 500 miles to shepherd the love that gains the bridge to your heart.
Would walk 500 miles?
Walker. Got to throw Jarris in there, right? That's not bad. Now, the original one that was sent to me was, a wise man once said, I would walk her 500 miles to be the shepherd of your banker's life. But it's now Gamebridge Fieldhouse, right?
That is correct, yes.
Now, we haven't even gotten into what, Colt players' names we could use in terms of Valentines that you could make, right? Like, for example, you could send someone a Valentine of Daniel Jones that just says, your love is the Achilles of my strength.
Ooh.
Right? I'm just saying, for what it's worth, right?
I'm not saying ooh because of that. Ooh, someone just wiped out on the half pipe.
Oh, really?
I believe is an American.
That's the snowboarder folk, right?
Yeah.
It's basically, Shaun White's retired, right?
He is retired, yes. He's an analyst with NBC on the Olympic coverage.
Now, I was watching earlier, and they've got this, the fellas that do I think it's called free skate.
Yeah.
And a guy farmered. I've never seen that on the ice. You ever seen somebody farmer, like a jogger?
No.
Do you know what a farmer is?
No.
It's where you've got to blow your nose, but there's no Kleenex nearby, so you just go.
Farmer blow.
Okay, yeah. A fella did that on the ice. I'd never seen that before, and then I wondered if that creates, diversion, like a challenge for the other skaters.
So Nick chimes in on the text line, Jake, and you can use this, and Kevin, you can use this tonight or tomorrow. You have the key to my heart.
Okay, again, if we're going, not bad, right? If you're going with pass, not bad. Joining us now on the guest line, it is the Java House Cold Brew Coffee guest line. Again, if you download the Java House app, Jake25, you can pre-order your beverage for any of the Java House locations, the cafe locations. You get 25% off your drink by ordering and using the app at Jake25. Kevin Bowen from the morning show, the Fan Morning Show, joining us. Kevin, we are getting to the period of time where if the Colts are going to utilize the franchise tag, they have essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong or clarify it for me, is it the deadline in which they can use the tag or the date opens up where they can use the tag that's coming up?
So the date opens Tuesday, and it's a 2-week window. So that obviously extends through the combine. If I remember correctly, the Michael Pittman tag was very late in the window. Deadline spur action, I feel like, is the phrase you hear quite often. So, yeah, it's a 2-week window, which ends then, I want to say, like a handful of days before free agency starts. And, again, I think the Pittman year, I think they tagged him and were able to get the extension done then in those handful of days before free agency actually started. So he never technically, would have hit the open market. You have until like July, I think it is, to get an extension done with that player. But yeah, 2-week window starting Tuesday.
Kevin, can you change a dumb question here? Let's say the Colts decide that they want to franchise tag Alec Pierce, and 4 days later, Alec Pierce comes to some sort of a contract agreement. Can they then remove the tag and use it on someone else within that window?
I would guess no. I assume you get one use of it. I mean, I would. It's kind of weird because the Pittman thing has always thrown me off because you tagged him and then whatever, like 5 days later you got an extension done with him. I'm like, were you really that far off? Like that.
Right.
You all of a sudden, but I get it. It's really no, knock on the team to use it if you plan on extending that guy anyway. So, yeah, I don't believe it. And, I mean, this full well. They actually used the franchise tag a little bit in the Pullian era. Before Pittman, they hadn't used it since Pat McAfee in 2013, and he was frankly irate that Ryan Grigson tagged him. back in 2013. So the franchise tag has not been of use to the Colts really at all. But I have a feeling it could be for Alec Pierce here coming up in a couple weeks.
So you believe, and I mean, I tend to agree with you here, but is there any chance, Kevin, would they weigh this out, okay? Could it be that they look at the franchise tag and say, you know what, we feel confident enough that we will be able, especially now, if you really want to read into it, Alec Pierce, his brother transferring to Purdue, does that mean that he wants to stay in the Midwest, et cetera? I'm grasping at tea leaves there. But if they feel that Alec Pierce is close for them, could they hold it just in case they were to need it for Daniel Jones, even though we obviously have talked about what that would mean financially if they were to put it on Daniel Jones?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously could. Again, as you just laid out there, I don't think a $46 million contract for a guy coming off a torn Achilles in less than 10 months is the best use of your finances. So, yeah, I would say no on that. But, yeah, I mean, that's the other one of whatever. If for some reason you feel very good about Alec Pierce and getting a long-term deal done, which I am a little hesitant to commit to that, I think there's a better chance they can get something done long-term with Daniel Jones. So I know it sounds weird, quarterback, you would tend to think that's the one you need to, maybe tag because you don't feel as confident if they hit the open market. But those are really the two. Braden Smith, Nick Cross, I can't really see any of that. So my best guess here is as the calendar gets closer to March, they tag Pierce, try to get something done with them long term, and then they give Daniel Jones some 2 or 3 year deal, and then we'll see how free agency plays out after that.
By the way, Kevin, did you buy season tickets for Florida State golf?
No, but do you want to talk about this for a few minutes?
Sure. Partially because I was listening to the show and I felt bad because you seemed to be the only one excited about it.
I mean, it's bad enough that, Jeff and James weren't going to entertain. And then when Mark Dykton went with the snoring sounder, I know you were probably giggling in your car somewhere when he went there when I was talking about Florida State golf. So Charlie Woods committed to Florida State for 2027. Now, he's a top 25 ranked high school golfer. In his specific high school class, he's about 9th or 10th.
This is the son of Tiger Woods, of course.
Yes, thank you for clarifying there. Now, they have Miles Russell committed. So, this would be a little bit like whatever Greg Oden is committed to Ohio State and Steve Alford's son is the night, and I don't know, comparing Steve Alford to Tiger Woods is probably ludicrous, but catch my drift. Steve Alford's son then would also commit to Ohio State, and again, not go to Tiger's daughter, Sam, she goes to Stanford, but Charlie has elected to stay in-state. I don't know if in-state tuition, is maybe at play here, but I would compare. Okay. I would compare. You love comparing. College programs, sports programs to, whatever, NFL franchises. I would compare Florida State golf to Penn State football.
Now, by that,
gives you a little barometer.
So does that mean, so you mean by that historically great program that of late has, of course, Penn State was playing, in the conference playoff or the playoffs, the championship playoffs a year ago. So it's not like, but has Florida State had any, from a golf standpoint, had any sort of bump in the road that this is thought is a big coup for them?
Yeah, maybe I should give them a little bit more compliment. I was kind of going off Penn State last year, to your point, getting to the Final Four. Florida State has gotten there. They were the runner-up, I want to say, a few years back. Brooks Koepka is a Florida State alum. Paul Azinger, to get it more in your wheelhouse, a Florida State alum there. So, again, they are a nice program. But, yes, Charlie Woods, a junior, not going to Stanford, and he's not even the best kid in his own recruiting class.
Okay.
That would be Miles Russell. And Miles Russell has had as bout of a good of a junior career as Tiger Woods. So this is a very heralded recruit going to Florida State.
So is Tiger Woods' son the same level recruit with the same opportunity if his name, you said it's Charlie Woods, is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
So if his name is Charlie Bowen, is he getting the same opportunity? Is he the same level of recruit? Or do we fall in love with the genetics of what we expect it will be?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an element of that. It's rather inevitable, and obviously there's some cachet that comes with a Woods playing for your golf program. I'd assume the NIL budget is, robust. But I would add, if you look at it side by side, Charlie Woods, his swing looks very reminiscent of his dad. He is growing as well. So, yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. But, Arch Manning, I guess, was a pretty highly ranked high school recruit. I feel like LeBron's kid – was Bronny that highly ranked coming out? I mean, I know
don't
the
think
other
he
one
was.
Not at all.
I think that was part of the critique of Bronny, right?
And the kid at Arizona's redshirting, Bryce James. LeBron, I don't know if people realize this. LeBron has another son on Arizona's team, number one in America, and he doesn't play. He's redshirting this year. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's golf for the most part. Can't believe we're talking about this, but golf for the most part, is show. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Eddie. As I rub. All right.
All right, as you were, Kev.
Yeah.
Can we break, Kevin?
Get some nice REM sleep here on this afternoon. Jake brought it up, to be fair. I would say this, golf for the most part, you can just kind of look at results. It's a bit of a meritocracy. I mean, okay, where'd the kid finish at all these events, and let's add them up. So, I think when you can look at that, I think Charlie Woods is deserving of an ACC golf school to be offering him. Correct.
Did you get Kevin? You played on a state championship golf team for Cathedral, right? And I don't know, and my apologies here, I know how it works in tennis, that you have like a number 1, 2, and 3 singles and then doubles, that kind of thing. Was there a rank that you had on that Cathedral team? Like, were you the lead golfer? I mean, how does that work exactly?
Yeah, so in high school golf, you play 5 and you count the top 4. I was the 5th man for, the Cathedral team, and thankfully had very good teammates. So, our number 1 went to IU. He won state individually. Corey Zedona, shout out. Number 2 went to Purdue, and number 3 walked on to Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State is like the Duke, men's basketball when it comes to men's golf. And shout out to Jason Seward, my fellow senior on that team. He was exceptional as well.
So were you recruited?
No.
Okay. What do you make of the NBA slapping the Pacers on the wrist and saying, control chair time for you guys because you got to play your best players?
I think it's selective punishment. I think it's I think the league has created this bed to where they incentivize losing, so be careful what you're going to wish for. To me, I've made the analogy, it's like walking into the tailgate fields at IU and just picking out one kid as the underage drinker. It's like, well, you probably could grab a few more there, i.e. the Wizards, i.e. the Kings, some others here. I find it odd that, like, Pascal Siakam is the victim in all this. I mean, we're talking about a 31-year-old dude. He's played some of the most minutes of anybody in the NBA this year. He's played 51 of 55 games, and he's sitting the second night of a back-to-back. I mean, it's not like he's sitting a random Wednesday game. I mean, when you look at it, Siakam has really rested only on those second nights of back-to-back. So it just I mean, I get where the league is coming from to a degree, but I just don't understand why now, why not other teams? I'm a little confused by the rationale again of like, oh, they could have picked, other times for them to rest. It just so much gray area. There's just little black and white to any of this. Do they have a tanking problem? Clearly they do. But again, I would argue they have created a lot of it on their own doing. And if they really want to take steps to punish it, A, you probably need to change the lottery rules. And B, the fines are only going to go so far. I mean, if you really want these teams to play their guys, which, again, good luck, you're going to have to take away ping pong balls. You're going to have to take teams and say, hey, we're not fining you $100,000. We're going to put you at the back of the lottery.
Kellen, to me, it feels like what this is the league. First off, if Oklahoma City is the one that is, banging this drum because it can impact picks that they would have based on trades in the past or whatever else, which is interesting because Oklahoma City, they have sat players in the past. They were sitting on a number of lottery picks for a long time. But having said that, to me, this comes down to simply this, and that is that as more and more teams are going to start resting players and or, if you want to call it tanking, whatever you want to call it, The league has to make the appearance to its customer base that their wagers on any of the sports gambling apps that are now official business partners of the NBA are as legitimate and they can feel as confident and as secure as possible that the games that they are wagering on, they are making legitimate wagers with a company or a business that is partnered with the NBA, and the integrity of that wager, ironic as that may sound, is important to the NBA because you now have financial investment on both sides. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of validity in that statement. I do think, we didn't necessarily have this debate last year when, gambling was still prevalent, but so there is something to say about this year's draft class. And you have so many teams, outwardly tanking here. And sure, the gambling element, and I don't know, do you then only create overs? You can't bet unders? If you want to get technical into the gambling terms, hey, here's Lauri Markkaden's 21.5 point over-under for the night. You can only bet the over. So therefore, if you were to exit and AKA the Jazz were to tank, then you don't benefit from that. You don't reward from that. I don't know if that's an avenue you can pursue, but I'm curious what Silver says. I at the All-Star break here, I assume you'll have some sort of State of the Union. I don't have an easy tank answer. I listen to some of them and hear that, hey, starting on March 1st, your wins count positively towards the lottery standings. I've heard some people say there should be a win total you have to achieve to keep your pick. Like the Kings, for example, have won 12 games this year. Some people say you got to win at least 25 in order to keep your pick. That is juicy. I've also heard of the whole wheel method. I don't know if you've read into any of this, but some people think it should be a 30-year wheel where you literally know when you're going to have the number one overall pick. And it just obviously 1 year you're going to have it. The next year you might have 30, and the next year, whatever, you might have 2, and you might have 29. Certainly that could mean that the Thunder or whoever, the Pistons or the Celtics, get the number one pick next year, but that's part of the randomness to it. I don't know. Again, once teams start to miss the playoffs, I think in general they'll just want to sit guys because they don't want to suffer, Johnny Furphy type injuries. So there's so much gray area in the NBA ruling. I also sit here without great black and white answers to correcting it.
Kevin Bowen, my guest. Of course, he is on the Java House Cold Brew Coffee guest line. Kevin, you hear in the morning with, of course, Jeff Rickard as well as James Boyd on the Fan Morning Show. Kevin, before we let you go, I just saw we got an email. I don't know if you've seen it yet. We got to include our headshot for the Combine, right? So we're doing the Combine, even though the Colts don't have a first-round pick. I don't know how many days you guys on the morning show will be out at the Combine, but it is still of interest from a local standpoint, not just because it's the NFL, but Fernando Mendoza, the presumptive number one pick. 2 questions on that real quick. The first being, do you believe that Mendoza is the presumptive number one pick simply because he is, the season that he had and the skill set that he has shown, or is part of that because it is a year that has weeded itself out with quarterback options?
Well, I must say, no need to reply to the email. I did send in the headshot of you getting cuffed on the way out of the convention center.
That was absurd.
A few years back, if I remember correctly, about 6:59 in the morning, I hear a faint, "Do you know who I am?"
I did not say that. I did not. But I did say they wouldn't let me in because I forgot my credential on the last day after we'd been there for 5 straight days. And I said, that's my table right there. You can see my backpack. And here is a video that I shot yesterday from me broadcasting from that table. And you can call the Colts right now, and they'll verify that I work. And they said, this is an NFL issue, not the Indianapolis Colts. You'll have to go home and get it. I was livid.
Yeah,
why is that
one point,
the voice of your mom?
My mom was working that day.
Have you heard my lap 200 call of Elio passing, blah, blah, blah? Yeah, I could hear you out there yelling that. Yeah, as far as Mendoza, I mean, yes, it's obviously a weak quarterback class. I'm sure you guys have talked about the Trinidad Chambliss news today. I mean, that might weaken it even further.
They found a judge from Mississippi to go ahead and give him a 6th year.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You can make all the jokes about the local representatives if Mendoza or Braden Smith were going through that next year. But, again, it is a weak quarterback class. But, I mean, even when you had the Dante Moore, rumor or debate there, I still think Mendoza, for the most part, was largely ahead of that. I'm super fascinated to see how he looks at the NFL level. Part of it is because, we don't really saw him play big time college football for 1 year. It's just, and this is probably going to be par for the course for a lot of these guys.
Have you seen or read any rumblings at all of where there is the possibility that he could not go number one and that the Raiders could go elsewhere? Are there other, there are years, Kevin, where somebody, it's like, oh man, they got to go quarterback there. And then it's like, I don't know, though. There's a generational defensive tackle or corner or safety or whatever it may be. Are there other players that Vegas could perhaps be passing on to take him number one?
Yeah, none from what I've heard. I don't think there's that. I think the only defensive talent that could do that would be a pass rusher, and I don't think there's any sort of pass rusher in this class. Jeremiah Love plays running back, so, there's only so much you can do with that. So, yeah, I think I believe Mark Davis had a quote at the Super Bowl about that, just about him. And being the number one overall pick. So, no to that. And, again, I think he walks into a halfway decent situation. He's got an offensive-minded head coach, and he's got Ashton Gency and Brock Bowers. So, certainly we'll see what the O-line looks like. And, he definitely plays in a tough division in the AFC West. And, I don't know if Clint Kubiak, the new head coach, has any sort of relationship or knows him at all. I say that because he was at San Francisco when Mendoza played at Cal. So I don't know if there's any running into there, but I think at this point we'd be surprised if he wasn't the number one overall pick. Very, very surprised.
Kevin, big plans for Valentine's Day?
We got none, to be honest with you. Our anniversary is Monday, and I think we just kind of largely chalk it up to, my wife's obsessed with Dancing with the Stars. I don't know if Shannon's into that at all, so for Christmas, I got her some tickets. I think they're at Old National Center in a few weeks, so I got her tickets to that. And I kind of said, you know what, these are pretty good seats. Let's add this to the old anniversary thought. And she was all aboard that, so don't have to tell me twice.
Okay, fair enough. No, Shannon's into all the Real Housewives stuff. That and that Below Deck.
Do you watch the Mormon one?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh! Maddie is. Maddie just got.
That Mormon one's interesting because it's a Real Housewives cast of 23 people, but only one husband. That's the weird part about that,
right? Part of me is like, should I believe you there? It is. I'm very confused when I walk into the room and that's on, and I try to follow up on the plot.
Yeah. I hear you. And every time I walk in, it's no. 5 more minutes. They're about to have a big argument here. They're about to have a big fight. 5 more minutes. Okay. That stuff. It's all staged.
I must say, decent to look at though.
Oh yeah, no argument about that. Just wait till after Valentine's Day to confess that. All right, Kevin. Happy Valentine's Day. Enjoy and happy anniversary too, because Monday we will not be in here doing the shows. But everybody back in the mix coming up on Tuesday. Appreciate it as always.
Love you both. Love the listeners. Happy Valentine's Day.
There you go. Kevin Bowen joining us on the Java House Cold Brew Coffee guest line. Again, if you download the Java House app and then use Jake25 anytime you pre-order your drink, it's easy. You use the app. You know that you're going to be, hey, I'm going to be in the Broderpool location. Hey, I'm going to be on New York Street downtown. Hey, I'm going to be in the Simon building. I want to go to the Java House Cafe, or I'm going to be in Midtown in Carmel. I'm going to be at the 3 locations in Lafayette. I'm going to be right there in Carmel at Clay Terrace, and I need to pick up a coffee, but no problem. Order ahead of time on your app. Use Jake25 on the discount code, and there you go. Save money, and the very best. And the best thing about the reason it's called cold brew, just so you can get it hot. Cold brew is the process. It's not the end result. It's the process of the way that the coffee is brewed. And that makes it oh so smooth, amazingly smooth, as they say. And that is the truth, because I'm not a coffee drinker, but I love Java House because it tastes that smooth. But people that love coffee and are purists of it love it as well. All right, we come back. It is a Friday, bottom of the hour. You know what that means. Franciscan Health, feel good, good for the heart Friday. And this story is bellissimo. I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly, but I'll explain next. Hey there, Jake Query for Game Day Men's Health. GameDayMen'sHealth.com is the website with clinics in the Indy metro area, Avon, Carmel, Fishers, and Greenwood. Lot to love about Game Day Men's Health. Peptide therapy, for example. Excellent way to just get that feeling back after a workout and start to limit those aches and pains that take place. Guys, the reality is this. You reach a certain age, energy level starts to go down, the testosterone starts to drop. You start noticing after a workout, man, I don't remember feeling that way in my knee, my ankles. Peptide therapy is perfect for that. And then, of course, testosterone therapy as well. Maybe you're just simply carrying around a little extra weight and you want to lose that. Don't worry, weight loss therapy also available from Game Day Men's Health. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health. And by that, I mean find out which therapy is best for you to get that energy back. Get that late day afternoon nap no longer on the schedule because you start to feel that energy and you feel better. You feel back in the game and you reclaim your game. That's what Game Day Men's Health is here for you. Very quick and easy. 1 hour in and out in terms of the therapies they provide. Super cool staff, relaxed atmosphere, and of course you can find all the information and the services at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Schedule an appointment. Look for a consultation. GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
You're listening to Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You know, when it comes to this Valentine's Day weekend, I hope all of you have found that someone that, in fact, lives there and has captured your heart. And for a lot of you guys, and I realize that are we at 38 female listeners? Is that right, Eddie?
It's hard keeping track anymore, Jake.
I think that's right. I think we're sitting on 38. But for the 38 female listeners as well, or for guys, those of you with, at Valentine's Day, when you are sitting there and you're thinking about that special someone, keep in mind for both of you that it is so important to make sure that your heart health is where it needs to be. And the number one cause of death amongst women now in the United States, heart disease. And I think that we stereotypically think that that is just a man thing. the Sanford and Son grabber, if you will. And for women, it is so important to stay on top of cardiovascular health because of the fact that the symptoms are different and they're not as obvious. You know, in men, as I talked about, when you have a heart attack or if you're starting to, especially if a heart attack is a sudden thing, the numb feeling in the left arm, I'm just giving you my symptoms. I'm not saying that these are the exclusive symptoms. It felt like someone pouring a hot water into my sternum, sweating like there was, the profusely sweating. And then my legs felt like jello, and it was very clear to me what was taking place. And unfortunately for women, those signs are not as obvious right up front and personal. Could be something like a sore jaw, a soreness within your shoulders. And when it comes to your heart health, the first step that you can take, especially for men and women, if you're over the age of 40 in particular, and you have any of the following heart risks, whether it be heart disease, high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, if you were a current or former smoker, all of those things, then you need to start taking a look at, for example, a heart scan. Just $49 from Franciscan. And, of course, with Franciscan Health, the number one heart program in Indiana for cardiology, number one in Indiana for interventional coronary care by health grades. They offer the $49, very easy, very affordable, and non-invasive heart scan, not hard to do. You go in, it's basically like getting an MRI. You just go into a machine and back out, non-invasive. And that heart scan can give you an idea of where your calcium score is, the kind of the outlines of the internal aspect of your heart, and it comes with a heart health risk assessment. And the number of people that have reached out to me to tell me that it was a game changer for them in terms of their roadmap to health, getting the heart scan, it is so important. You can do so at 833-238-0688. Jake, I'm not going to remember 833-238-0688. I'm in the car. I understand if you're not going to remember to write down 833-238-0688. So you can always just simply Google Franciscan Health Heart Scan or franciscanhealth.org/screening bundles. Talking about stories around Indiana in the world of sport that are those that are favorable. We've all heard of burnout, and we've talked about burnout. I mean, there are times on this show that I'm sure, and this is hard to believe, but there are probably days where Eddie feels burnt out by having to listen to me talk for 3 hours. Hard to believe, but I'll bet it happens. And no matter what line of work that you're in, no matter what sport you play, your kids, we talk about the importance with young people of playing different sports, making sure that you're getting your kids involved in more than just year-round travel baseball, year-round travel basketball. We talk about the fact that athletes, so many of them, when I ask the question and I interview athletes and people roll their eyes when I ask the question, what was your favorite sport growing up? And you think that's the dumbest question ever this guy just asked. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, wait a minute. LeBron James just said it was football. Wait a minute. Reggie Wayne said it was baseball. Players learn and pick up skills and movement and kinesiology of different aspects of their body from different sports that can benefit them, even in the sport where they might have the most natural ability. And in addition to that, you are resisting or prolonging, perhaps, the potential that a young person can get a burnout. And it happens to even the best. Now, when it comes to Indiana, we don't obviously have, other than the snow mountain that we talk about in our parking lot here, a lot of places in central Indiana that have elevation. Do you know why that is, by the way, Eddie? This is a fabulous, fabulous point that I learned. I guess I knew it, but it was reinforced to me in college when I took a geology course. During the Ice Age, the glaciers began moving south. They said, enough of this, we're heading south. They started moving south. They forged their way. They ran into a roadblock, construction, as they were moving south. And so they slammed on the brakes right about the time that they got coming in towards Indiana, got to about as far south as Bloomington, Indiana, at least what is now Bloomington, and then melted, retreated. The grooves they created, they filled in. That's the Great Lakes, and that's why northern Indiana is flat as a board, southern Indiana hilly, and then you get more into the mountain ranges. So in southern Indiana, there are some hills, for example, near Lawrenceburg, which is where Nick Gepper grew up. Now, Nick Gepper, right now, as we speak, is over in Italy, hanging out with Zach Kiefer. Why, you ask? He is the lone Indiana representative in the Winter Olympics. But there's a lesson to be had there. Because Nick Gepper has been in the Olympics before. He has been in the Olympics, and he has been involved in, the aspect of the Olympics known as, even though it's the freestyle skiing, the half pipe. But he hasn't always been in the half pipe. Because in the free ski half pipe, which is what he is doing now, he's doing something new and something different. He's been in the Olympics before in the slope style skiing. Now, the variation between the two would simply come from this. One offered a second opportunity and a peace of mind. Because Nick Gepper, who grew up in Indiana and has been in the Olympics before, has already won a bronze medal. He's won 2 silver medals. And for a 31-year-old guy, one would think that perhaps that was enough. And Nick himself thought that was enough when he basically said 2.5 years ago, enough's enough. I'm going to retire because I have burnout. I've been through it enough. The rigors of all of it, the challenge of all of it, the mental aspect of overcoming, and sometimes that's the biggest obstacle for any athlete, is the mental aspect of continually chasing the best version of yourself. And so Nick had that and decided, you know what, enough is enough, I'm going to retire. And then he got the itch again. But as is always the case, and this isn't just true with athletics, it can be true in any walk of life. Sometimes you're coming up with new ways to challenge yourself. You're coming up with new ways to invigorate yourself, new purpose. And his new purpose was, in fact, now doing the free ski half pipe, even though he had already won medals in the slope style. So he gets back on the horse, if you will, or in this case, back on the snow, and works his way back to the point where, again, he qualifies for the Olympics after having retired due to burnout, but finding a new avenue, a new way, a new challenge, a new source to motivate himself. And so, on Thursday, the 19th of February, 1 week from yesterday, 4:30 in the morning, our time, he will again get back into the Olympics, and he will do so in Italy, and he will do so not just because he is awakening a challenge of himself, but awakening a challenge in himself that caused him to strive and achieve the ultimate success of once again making the Olympic team, and doing so, mind you, doing so in the Olympics by representing the state of Indiana. You know, there are great stories all over the Olympics, all over the Olympics. The story, for example, of the young man representing the United States, and both of his parents, from an ice skating standpoint, were killed in that tragic crash over the Potomac that happened within the last year or so. And yet, he still finds a way to overcome with that mental anguish to represent proudly his parents in the Olympics, and he's skating right now this weekend in Italy. But that's what the Olympics are about. It's about finding within yourself your own depth, your own greatness, and your own challenge. And we wish Nick Gepper the very best in doing that and representing not just the United States, but the great state of, why not, Indiana. All right, we'll come back. An interesting anecdote to our NBA story about the Indiana Pacers and the Utah Jazz and how it parlays into a hypocrisy with All-Star Weekend. I'll explain next.
This is Query and Company on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Okay, I found this interesting. Since we were talking about the NBA cracking down on the Pacers and the Jazz when it comes to, their rotation, if you want to call it tanking, whatever you want to call it. And, of course, we talked all show long about how this is for the integrity of the game. And what did I say, Eddie, when I was talking about what is the biggest concern, my opinion? I'm not saying this is the opinion of you. I don't want to put you in that category. But I was saying that this comes down to making sure that people can feel confident with their wagers on apps because that is such an important part of the business aspect of the NBA. Earlier today, it was announced as part of All-Star Weekend, the NBA will conduct a private, but nonetheless, 2026 All-Star Tech Summit. I have no idea what the Tech Summit is, but I got curious about it and then looked to see who the panelists are for the NBA Tech Summit. The founder and CEO of Polymarket, the chief executive officer and president of MGM Resorts International, the chief executive officer of the FanDuel Group, the chief executive officer of Sport Trader, the co-founder and president of DraftKings, and the chief operating officer for Kalshi, which is also a gambling app.
Yeah, the Giannis is a shareholder in or something.
So you want to make sure the integrity of the game is upheld so that the customers of your biggest partners are confident that there's no funny business going on when they make their wager. I am convinced that that is behind all of this. J&V has arrived. The crossover brought to you by the good guys at Love Heating and Air, love-hvac.com. The website, 317-353-2141 is the telephone number. John, what's lined up on the big program tonight?
Adam Silver is such a big butt sniffer. Seriously.
Yeah.
That's all that is. It's that, and I thought earlier this week it was the so-called national outrage of how teams like the Jazz. I never heard the Pacers once even mention of this, but teams like the Jazz.
They're 9-9 in their last 18 games.
And, and the bad timing award, again, goes to the NBA because you pull this off when they've won 2 straight on the road, as they have. It's just a huge butt sniff from Adam Silver. It doesn't. It's like somebody sent me this. Hey, I think this has to do with L.A. and large market. Nobody gives a fat crap about the Clippers. Now, they don't mind if you have some Nimrod like Nico Harrison that trades one of the best players in the world for absolutely nothing, as they did last year, for zero, because you want to make sure you replenish the Lakers in that market. But nobody cares about the Clippers. It's not about that. It is about the public outrage and the shaking of the fist if you're some national people, and it's about what you were talking about, the gambling apps. If I'm the Pacers, I just handle it how you want to handle it and let the chips fall, because I'm not letting the NBA coach my stinking team.
That's the other thing is, who is the NBA to say, and I get it, Siakam is an elite level player, but who is the NBA? Like, what message does it send to Ben Shepherd or Ethan Thompson of, we got fined $100,000 because we played you too much?
Because you guys really suck, and there's no way you're going to beat anybody.
I mean, that's number
stupid.
one. And number two, John, the reports are that this is largely being facilitated because of a whistleblow by the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is really rich because, number one, that's not big market. And number two, they tanked for like 5 straight years, right?
Who blew the whistle there? Blow the whistle. That's too short. Who blew that whistle? Sam Presti?
That would be my guess, or someone.
He would look like he. If you see his picture, he looks like he'd tell on somebody. He looks like a tattletale.
He does. He looks like
he's really good at what he does, but he looks like a big nerd.
He looks like the tattletale in a Beverly Cleary book from 1971. Yes, that is correct.
Valentine's Day. So you think I could do the JMV takeover tomorrow night, and every song that I play for 6 hours would have love in the title? Think I could do that easily? Love in the title.
Probably. It's got to be the most used word amongst titles and songs. Right?
How many songs with love in the title have nothing to do with love, you think?
Also a good question. Love is a battlefield? What's that about?
Love is a Minotaur. That's good. How many real love songs?
Radar Love? Is Radar Love about, you know what I mean?
I was thinking of, what is it called? Love Removal Machine from the Cult or something like that. There's a wild one out there. But what about Real Love? You have Michael McDonald, Doobie Brothers, Real Love. You have Jody Watley, Real Love. You have Mary J. Blige,
which
Real
ones?
Love.
Which ones? Maybe it's Mary J. Blige. Real Love. I'm talking about
Mary J. Blige.
Okay, yeah.
Yep, that's very true. Jody Watley's got some kind of lover. How about Love Machine? Is Love Machine by the Miracles a love song?
Right, that's a good.
I'm a loving, touching fiend. That sounds like it sounds like you're going to get arrested
Well, you
later
go with
on.
Journey, you can, and then now you're getting into the later night, right?
Loving,
gotta,
touching, squeezing.
That's right. You got that.
Here's
that's
one
more
for
in
you.
about the 11
From the 70s porno era. The Bee Gees with "Love You Inside and Out." What does that mean?
No.
How do you love somebody inside because you love their heart, or do you love their inside in other ways?
Was Andy Gibb the baby brother of the Bee Gees? But
He
he was not a Bee Gee himself.
He was not. No.
But would you? Who had a? Obviously, the Bee Gees would be bigger, but Andy Gibb was pretty darn big, right?
He was big. At the time, you could not, in like 77,
which one was-
78, you could not go a minute without hearing somebody from the
Correct.
Gibb family
That's
playing
exactly
a
right.
song.
Which
That's
one was
why
it?
they got so tired of him.
How Deep Is Your Love? Is that Bee Gees or is that Andy?
That is Bee Gees.
Okay, yeah.
How Deep Is Your Love? Andy Gibb is Shadow Dancing. Love Is Thicker Than Water.
Yeah, Andy Gibb was, but he died. He was the first one to go, right?
Yeah, I think
he didn't see 35, did he?
Well, he was hanging out with Victoria Principal. I think she dumped him, and he had a bad reaction to that. Which
a bad reaction.
A bad reaction to that.
What he calls it.
When I was in second grade, I bought a poster at the Eastern High School bookstore of Andy Gibb, and I had. Yeah, he's shirtless and hairy chest. He's got the hair
Did you
trail.
have a bad reaction
the
to
hair
it?
trail down. I don't know what the hell I was doing right
Hey,
there.
listen, I can't say anything because I went to Kmart when I was 5 in 1977, and my mom got me a Sean Cassidy album.
Oh, man.
And Marcy McCracken kissed me in the Kmart with the album.
Marcy McCracken's
Yeah.
awesome. Did you guys do something with that name back in the day? Marcy
I was
McCracken's
5.
great.
Marcy McCracken still lives in Shelbyville, I believe.
We had a crystal chandelier back in the day. Yeah.
Nice.
Crystal chandelier.
Wonder if Crystal knew Marcy McCracken.
Marcy McCracken sounds hot.
All right.
What are you guys
John's up
doing
next.
tomorrow, by the way?
We're listening to The Takeover, I think.
Are you going to be on the road, going to eat, going to Valentine's
of course.
Day?
I'll send you a video of Shannon trying to sing along to one of your songs. It's our Saturday tradition.
Be mine. You're going to send, give me a Valentine, be mine.
Little heart that says be mine.
Did you see what I said about Shepard with his mustache?
Yeah.
Gar, Gar from Mask. He had the greatest shirt of all time.
Rock, go get me a beer.
I hung your graduating suit up in there.
Sam Elliott.
Hey,
All right.
hey, Gar, why is my suit in the refrigerator, for Christ's sake?
John's up next. I'll be back with you Tuesday, by the way. Have a wonderful 3-day weekend if you're not working on President's